All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this edition of NASCAR by the Numbers. As you could tell by my header, I tried. I tried. It was a valiant effort.
It was a not so valiant effort, but he tried. I mean, they gave him everything. Harvick didn't really run crazy strong this round, didn't get to qualify on Saturday. They gave you every shot that you could have. But I told you, Kevin Harvick does not fall out in early rounds. It does not happen. I've seen this man about to fall out in the first round, was in a must-win, couldn't finish second, and went out and won Dover. That man does not get eliminated early.
Hey, Brandon Jones won fucking 2 days ago, so anything's possible.
I'm not even going to talk about that with you because I know it's emotionally scarred you. It was a 2L kind of weekend for you, taking L's on both days. But yeah, that's rough.
I don't want to buy that hat.
Yep, you have to buy that hat now. People don't know that he made a deal. If Harvick was eliminated, or if Harvick wasn't eliminated, which obviously common sense, he made it to the final 8 because he has a 30-some-odd point cushion, that he has to wear has to buy a Brandon Jones hat because he just dislikes Brandon Jones. And to cap that off, the sign that lets you know that you were going to have to buy it was Brandon Jones gets his first Xfinity Series win.
I literally went to the JGR website. They only have a 2018 hat and a 2018 shirt. That's it.
I'm telling you, you need to wait till the win shirt comes out.
I'm buying a hat. I ain't buying no shirt.
But anyways, let's get into what this race was yesterday. Throwing out all kind of bias, all playoff drama, fairly mild race at Kansas. Really the first 90 to 95% of that race, just a typical Kansas race. They'd get strung out. I think at one point Kyle Larson had a 6 or 7 second lead. Nothing really flash. I mean, this is an ideal race. This shows you how big a deal the playoffs are. And as much as I don't always like the format, this by far is the most entertaining format NASCAR has ever had from just a pure drama standpoint. I mean, it took a race at Kansas to where the closest driver to even pointing their way in was nearly 20 points. It was actually 18 points out by Bowman. So it was even a weekend to where nobody should have even been close to being able to point their way in. And yet we still get drama at one of the most, quite honest, bland tracks on the NASCAR schedule, which is Kansas. So I just want to point that out. This shows you how amazing this playoff format is. Regardless if you like it or not, it's entertaining. First 95% of this race, typical Kansas, riding around, big gaps, couldn't pass anybody. You can't pass anybody really at Kansas to begin with, but you really can't pass people in this package. So before, I know you were at work. I know you got to see some of the madness, but I just want to clear the air. This race was not like there's going to be people that vote this race as one of the best races of the year because of how the finish and certain people who transferred. We'll get to that in a minute. But it was not that great of a race. It was a typical Kansas race.
I knew, like, I've said it like the entire playoffs. Everyone was like, the Kansas race is going to be one of the best ones. It's because of the time of the day. And that's one thing I do like about this package. It does make day and night actually matter. Like before then, like if it was a night race, it was a day race, it really ain't going to mean nothing. You're going to see the same old, same old. Now with this new Aero package, you have different people who are up front, different people, and like say the day or the night. You have different styles of racing. So, there's different factors when it comes to a night race and a day race now at specific tracks. The only real time where it really wasn't that is Las Vegas. Like the two races were basically the same, but I mean the two Kansas races completely different. Chicagoland, when it went from the day to the night, was completely different. So,
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Now these restarts are some of the best restarts we've seen all year, and I'm still completely mind blown how we have not had full blown wrecks on one of these restarts. We sort of did late yesterday. That it was already, I think, the first overtime restart, which led to the second overtime restart. They were coming off of turn 4, so they had really made it a whole lot. The wreck I'm waiting to happen is for them to go 5 wide off of turn 2 and somebody make a mistake, cut in front of the field. Now we've wrecked 15 cars at a mile and a half. But I think it is a big deal. The restarts were awesome, but I knew with it being a day race, this package, it doesn't really suit a day race after 2-3 laps of racing. If it was a night race, it would have gotten crazy, which is something that I'm interested to see. This is looking forward. Obviously, we've got weeks. We got a lot to talk about today that doesn't involve Homestead. I'm really intrigued how Homestead's going to look. I wish the start time would be pushed back so this race could really be majority in the nighttime. I know the time changes, I think, within the next week or two. So at the end of the day, we are going to see part of the race at night. But I really wish Homestead, the way Homestead already races with 2 or 3, 4 lanes of racing, I could only dream of what that place would look like at night with this package.
Well, it depends. I mean, if we get something, because I go to Homestead every year. So, yeah, like the nighttime comes like right around like the end of like maybe like 30 laps into stage 3. So, like, that's when we really see like the nighttime conditions come in. So that's going to be really entertaining. The race starts like at 2?
2 or 3. I have no clue why. Which I'm going to tell you this: there is a chance. I know me and you had both discussed going to Homestead. I know you're going to Homestead. There's still a chance I'm going to Homestead, but I'm letting it all play into the racing gods. If Mr. Rally Cap, which I'll discuss that in a second, can make it, it's going to be very hard for me not to get a ticket and go down there for 2 reasons. One, he's going to make it. And the 9 team, well, I don't think they're good enough to win it. I mean, if you can make it, you're good enough to. And I think Chase is a hungry enough driver to do what he's got to do that night if he were to make it. And 2, for at least the foreseeable future, I don't know if this will be back on the East Coast. They're moving it to Phoenix for the next couple of years. Who knows where it could go from there? You don't really know. So that's going to be really intriguing. But let's keep it at Kansas. Let's focus on Kansas. If people didn't see it, yesterday I tweeted out literally when we got the late race caution with Bubba Wallace, and I think it was Matt Tift. Might have been McDowell. It was one of the front row cars. I believe it was Tift, though. When Bubba Wallace literally drove the wheels off the car. I posted it because Chase Elliott was pretty much done. So just in case you missed it, here's the situation I want to lay it out. This might even help you. I don't know if you were able to watch it. This was the
I literally
picture
saw 5 laps before the overtime. That's
here's where the picture was. Let me paint the picture for you. This might even help you understand.
All right, Bob Ross.
So Brad Keselowski was falling back under green. There was a long green flag run. He was falling back, but there was really only a certain amount of positions he could fall back. He was running, I think, 19th or 20th. Chase Elliott was running 8th. Chase, going into stage 3, Chase Elliott needed to gain 14 points to at least tie Brad Keselowski. He had the tiebreaker based on best finish. So Chase is running in 8th. Keselowski's running, I believe, either 19th or 20th. Well, there was only 2 or 3 cars left on the lead lap that could pass Brad Keselowski, and they were 4, 5, 6 seconds behind him.
Hey, I'll be right back. Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yeah. They were catching him, but they weren't catching him quick enough to, really, really make a difference. Chase Elliott sitting in 8th. Well, Chase, he's not gaining any ground. His car wasn't driving the way he needed it to. Chase was kind of just sitting there, back half of the top 10, almost like an adjustment away from really being able to make some noise. He was kind of stuck. He couldn't reach. I think the next closest car was 3 or 4 seconds in front of him. Car wasn't fast enough to catch him. With his package, you're not going to catch him. So he's sitting there. At this point, I think he was 3 points behind Brad. And you're kind of thinking, well, you pretty much need a caution. And we hadn't had a caution in like 40, 50 laps. Probably aren't going to get a caution because it's Kansas. Everyone's spread out. And then, magically, you have Bubba Wallace and Matt Tift get into each other. No, not to get into each other. Bubba Wallace lost the wheel on his car. The whole entire wheel falls off. I think Matt Tift was trying to avoid. He might have avoided him. I can't remember if he made contact or not. But they go spinning on the backstretch. Throws the yellow flag. I think that's with 5 or 6 laps to go. No. That actually was with like 15 to go, I believe. So we're gonna get a restart with like 5 or 6 to go. I think we restart there. I'm trying to think what the wreck was there. There was something else that happened. I can't remember what happened late, but pretty much you put yourself in a situation that where if you're Chase Elliott, you can finally have a chance to pit, make some adjustments, get fresh tires, do whatever you've got to do. Brad Keselowski's stuck in a situation that he really can't do anything aggressive. The car's not running very, very well. No matter what he does, that car is losing spots. I can't remember what it was that made him lose spots, but that car just continued to lose spots over and over and over and over again. But here's your chance. So they restart. I can't remember where Chase restarted, but Chase gets all the way up to, I believe, second place and was charging Denny Hamlin for not only just to point his way in, but to win this race. The problem was Brad was also having a shot to restart. I think he'd gained a spot or two. And then you had another yellow come out. Can't remember what the yellow was that came out at that point, because I don't think we were in overtime yet, but another yellow flag comes out. And here you go. You re-rack him. The 9 car just looked like he could win the race. The 2 car, though, has gained a spot or two based off cars that didn't pit and all this kind of stuff. So now after the 9 car, you go from maybe we could point our way into we 100% have to win this race. Well, you're back. So I'm in the middle of talking about when I think we had the caution before the first overtime. So you had went from 10 laps ago, Brad Keselowski was falling back, and Chase just couldn't catch anybody to earn enough points. So both of them were stalled out. You finally get a yellow. You restart. Somehow the 9 car just gets a run out of hell and has the restart of the season. Comes from I can't remember where he restarted. It might have been 5th or 6th. All of a sudden, he comes all the way up to 2nd. Looks like not only could he point his way in, but he could win the freaking race. Another caution comes out, and this might have been – I know there had to be at least another restart, so I can't remember what that caution was for. Then you get your first overtime restart. Your first overtime restart, Chase doesn't have a great restart at all. He drops 3, 4, 5 spots. This puts the 2 car back in contention, so you're thinking, well, Chase Elliott literally just not restarted his way into getting eliminated up from the playoffs. Then you get the controversial caution. Well, not really controversial caution. It was clearly a wreck, but the controversial quick hit of the caution. Have you seen the replay of that yet? I can't hear your microphone. We'll get Armani straightened up here. He's still reeling from that Harvick deal. His headset not working is just like his tagline. He tried. But anyways, I'll carry it on. So you have the late caution. And I'm talking about this might have been the quickest yellow thrown in NASCAR history. They come off of turn 4. Suarez and Keselowski spinning, and it's like, bam, somebody hits the yellow light. Hamlin was 10 feet away from crossing the line. Even me at one point was like, yeah, he crossed it. There's no way. NASCAR wasn't showing a replay. Even me as a Chase Elliott fan who needed another restart for him to try to make it was like, something's going on here. It just doesn't make sense. Quickest hit in history. But NASCAR and NBC does their job. They go to show it. And Hamlin's literally about 10 feet before crossing the line. And even I was like, okay, we get a little bit of proof here. Now, obviously, the conspiracy theorists are still out and about, that they did it because the 9 car hadn't made it. But in reality, I think everybody's glad we got another restart. But that was also pretty wild. But you need to see the replay if you haven't.
See a married daughter as sticking time bomb.
It's showing you're muted on my side.
Okay, how about now?
There we go.
20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration.
He's back. All right. So
as I was saying,
yeah, go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
Okay, so I was saying, I saw I saw some people on Twitter were like, oh, because Chase Elliott. I even saw Real Radman say that NASCAR did it solely for entertainment purposes. Where as soon as the wreck happened, they hit that button
Oh yeah, they were. Wow. I don't know if someone was prepared just in case it happened, and they were thinking, okay, we need to make sure we get another read. I don't know what it was. They had to have had their hand on the button. They had to have. Because me looking at the replay was like, there is no way that Denny Hamlin did not just win this race. There's no way he didn't make the strike. And then, I too, people saw what I was tweeting out. I tweet out as I'm reacting to things. And so up until I saw the replay, I was the first one NASCAR's literally ruining their reputation right here. This is a joke. And then NBC gives them the replay. And, of course, once we get a replay, people want to do nothing with the replay. Replay is not good enough proof. A live picture of what happened is not good enough proof. So, of course, all the conspiracy theories are still out.
Yeah, like Chase Elliott's like, if they wanted Chase Elliott, like Chase Elliott would have locked himself in by now if NASCAR wanted to make it.
It's one of those deals though where it's like, trust me, I'm sure there's a little bit of influence of the 9 car being that close. I get it. I think in general the amount of drama that was taking place for any car may help that be a quicker yellow. What people also don't want to talk about is what about that yellow flag we got when Chase Elliott was literally about to pass the 11 car to win the race. So, I mean, it's a tit for tat. I get it. And I'll say that was a quick reacting yellow. Guess what? By no means that. In fact, at the time, that's not what Chase Elliott needed because the 2 car came back down and got fresh tires. Chase Elliott had to stay on the racetrack. So at that point, that still wasn't what the 9 car really needed to win. At the time, I was under the impression that it was pretty much going to be done. Unless Chase wins the race, because Keselowski had fresher tires, which is good enough for at least a spot. And Keselowski passed cars on pit road. I think he passed 3 or 4 cars on pit road. That was the difference. I mean, it's going to be pretty much Chase is going to have to win the race or he's out. And Chase Elliott clearly did not win the race, didn't have the car to win the race. Got close, but he was not touching that.
All right, so we talked about the points, and so did we talk about who were the 4 drivers eliminated? So obviously Keselowski, which was obviously
Keselowski. I have no clue what happened to him. I've never seen someone in the position to where they can't do anything. Brad Keselowski, one of the best drivers in the garage. It's like his car was just not there. It's like he was just driving someone else's car.
Actually, you know what's just bad? Keselowski has been eliminated from the round of 12 3 out of the last 4 years. 2016, 2018, and 2019.
Well, I tweeted that out. I said, I like Brad. Brad's a great driver, and I expect him to win a second championship, but I would have thought he'd been closer by now. He's only made the Final Four 1 year in this format, and I don't know what it is. It's not damaging to his reputation, but if you get eliminated 2 or 3 more times like this early, I mean, you're kind of done being, to me, a yearly championship contender because you're not making a run. An NFL team can make the playoffs every year. The Bengals made the playoffs 4 years in a row, but they lost every year. Are you really a championship contender if you can't win a game? I feel like that's something that you have to kind of look at. I don't know if this format just doesn't help Brad.
I mean, I'm trying to think of, obviously Kansas, there's really nothing he could have done. Talladega, Talladega's Talladega. And Dover, where did he finish at Dover?
I think he was 11th or 13th, something like that. He didn't have a great run at Dover.
Yeah, Keselowski is hit or miss. There's a lot of drivers I consider inconsistent. There's some drivers I consider hit or miss. Keselowski is one of those drivers. There's times where it's like Martinsville, where he leads every lap of the damn thing, and there's other times where he's running 15th.
Right, and then looking at the other 3 guys that got eliminated, I kind of go up from the bottom to how impressed I am for him. So Boyer did pretty much nothing. They tried to get some stage points, but they weren't in contention to win that race. They didn't really do anything to try to win that race. There's not much they really could have done. I believe he actually had a little bit of damage on the car too. Boyer was just kind of Boyer floating around, didn't really do much. Alex Bowman early in the race almost junks himself and the 43 car, which would that have not been a storyline. Within the first 10 laps, the 88 car gets up into the wall. Typical Bowman, has to perform, gets damage on the race car. But then at that point, I will say I was proud of his team. They were the only team that seemingly kind of rolled the dice. They tried to stay out an extra, 8-10 laps, try to get a yellow, do something to change up the strategy. Didn't work for them, but at least they tried. I was very disappointed at the lack of effort to make a real push for it. Then the last guy is Byron. Byron ran very good. I think he finished 5th. Really impressive run. I think he's going to be someone to watch next year. But they come down late to the race. They go down pit road. And this, to me, was Chad Knaus's chance to be Chad Knaus. They know they're not going to win the race. No one's going to be able to beat the 11 car right now. Do something. But instead of doing something, they take 4 tires like everybody else. I really would have loved the two-tire call, maybe put Byron in the top 2 or 3, give him a shot, do something wild. Maybe he ends up in victory lane. But Chad Knaus didn't. But I do think Byron's going to be one to watch next year. He was very impressive.
All right, so those are drivers that were eliminated. So let's take a look at the Final 8. I got the point standings up right now on the World Racing Media Twitter. Little self plug there. All right, so let's get this over here. Okay, so here we go. Can you see it?
Oh yeah.
All right, so yeah, here we are. So it's actually a lot tighter than I thought it was going to be, honestly. Kyle Busch is the points leader because he had such a dominant regular season. He's only plus 18, and then Truex is plus 14. They're the only ones. So like no one really. They have everyone. Truex and Kyle, they have a cushion, but it's not much of a cushion. It's like it's like they can't sleep. Like they won't be able to sleep. Like they gotta work hard these last 3 rounds. It's not like the first and second rounds where they can basically just like catwalk to the next one. Hamlin is only plus 9. He, like I said, like no one can really say. And Logano's only plus 2. It's really tight between first through 6. Harvick is -2 in 5th. Chase Elliott is 6, -6. And then you really see the gap with Larson and Blaney, -19 to -21. That just shows it's like, yeah, they may want to. They it's like, okay, Larson and Blaney, they got their wins. They had the momentum. But then come this round, I mean, the round hasn't even started yet. And like Larson's already in a deep hole and Blaney's already like over 20 out.
It's really a good representation of how these drivers race during the regular season. I mean, everybody's kind of where they deserve to be. Busch, Truex, Hamlin, those guys ran the best during the regular season. Those guys are really up towards the top, including Logano. Logano faded later in the year, so we see where Logano's kind of barely hanging on. You look at Harvick, been really quiet all year. He hasn't been as good as usual, so he's definitely within striking distance. He's only behind 2 points, but he's still a guy that has to have the mentality that right now I'm under the cutoff line. I've got to go out and beat somebody. I've got to play offense. I can't play defense. You look at Chase Elliott, -6. Has had an okay year. This will be his career low, I believe, in top 10s this year. But, he does have 3 more wins this year. He's kept himself within distance. And right now he's within distance. Then you really look at Larson and Blaney, 2 guys that I was surprised are still hanging around. I don't have them having any shot at all to win the championship. As we'll rank them here in a minute, we'll rank 8th to 1st, least likely to win it to most likely to win it. But to me, it's a really good representation. Larson and Blaney, they won. They're probably going to have to win again. They have pretty big gaps. They're either going to have to really race their tails off the next 3 weeks, or they're going to have to win again to make it.
All right, so let's start ranking them. Let's start off with 8th through 1st. We'll start on the bottom. Blaney's really only shot, in my opinion, is Texas. Texas is one of Ryan Blaney's best tracks. I mean, I think in 2017, back with the Wood brothers, he swept the stages in the first Texas race. The race that Jimmy Johnson won and led the most laps. So Martinsville, he's pretty good at Martinsville. He's starting to finally figure out the track, especially after last year where he finished 3rd. So I think Blaney might have a shot. I honestly like Ryan Blaney's odds more than I like Kyle Larson's odds, and mainly because he's better at the tracks than Kyle Larson is. And let me just Phoenix, Blaney, he can qualify well at Phoenix, but he can't race well at Phoenix. It's like Kyle Larson at Sonoma.
Well, my number 8 is Kyle Larson. People are kind of getting blinded by this. Oh, well, he just won Dover, and he's this, and he's Kyle Larson, and everybody's already booking him for Homestead. You got to calm down. He's got to make it. He's got the 2nd largest gap to make the post, to make the Final Four, and now he has the worst equipment of the remaining 8. He has, at these tracks, he's not known for Martinsville. Everyone books Texas, but Texas is a 1-lane racetrack. He's not exceptional at Phoenix. Kyle Larson, to me, is the easy choice to be number 8.
Yeah, I got Kyle Larson in the ring because, I think Martinsville is his worst track. He has an average finish outside the top 20. I think his average finish is 23.8. Texas, he's all right. He usually runs pretty well at Texas, but then, minus any mechanical failures, he's usually top 5 there. And then Phoenix is 50-50. He's usually running 10th to 13th at Phoenix. The only real exceptional time I think he was in Phoenix was when he qualified 2nd during that race where Alex Bowman dominated back in 2016. So Kyle Larson I would put at number 8. Ryan Blaney I put at number 7 just because Blaney's better at these tracks than Kyle Larson is. Number 6, I'm going to go with Joey Logano. I know he's in the 4th seed. I know he's above the cut line, but that 22 team, it seems like really ever since his win at Michigan, they've just been starting it's a slow and steady decline. I mean, he had the performance in Las Vegas, and we'll go into the driver I have at number 5, which is going to be even more surprising when I talk about performances in the playoffs. But I have Logano number 6. Like, besides Las Vegas, he hasn't really been doing much. I mean, yeah, and Talladega, but Talladega is like, it's so different. So Vegas is really his only like real bright spot in these playoffs. Every other race, he's been kind of just irrelevant. I mean, yeah, he won the stage at Kansas, but did he really even do anything for the rest of the race?
Well, see, the way I've got him, we talk about Larson at 8th. 7th, I have Blaney a lot with you. I just don't have a lot of faith in Blaney. He runs too inconsistent for a Penske driver. But I do have a different 6th place pick than you. I know you had Logano here. I've got Chase Elliott. Well, I think that team, that is a very momentum team. I think what they did yesterday could catapult that team to a big run. Chevrolet's still not 100% ready. I don't even know if Chase Elliott's 100% ready as a driver yet. I still want to see a little bit more aggressiveness out of them at non-plate tracks, so they've got to work on that. And my number 5 is – who do you have number 5?
Kyle Busch.
Oh, God. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. My number 5 is Kevin Harvick. Kyle Busch, he's going to win before the year is out. I mean, you just have to feel like that team's going to get another win. So I'm not going to put him there yet. We'll talk about – you're going to hate where I have him at. But my number 5 is Kevin Harvick. I feel like Kevin Harvick, while he is in my final 4, I have him ranked 5th. That team is just – they've went back to what they were earlier in the year where they're good, but they're not great. They're not a favorite. They're not really around. He's not really known for running well at Martinsville. He'll run well at Texas, but I don't think they have the winning speed right now. Phoenix is where you've got to watch out for him, though. One of his best racetracks, statistically his best racetrack on the schedule. So Harvick is going to be a threat there, but he's ranked number 5 for me.
All right, let me explain why I don't have Kyle Busch really high up there. Similar to Logano, he just hasn't performed in the playoffs. And I think I can remember his finishes for more. 19th at Vegas, obviously the issue with Garrett Smithley, but even then he was running like 2 laps down the entire race. Richmond was really his best run where, I think he led the most laps and finished second along with winning one of the stages. But that's really his only real bright spot in these playoffs. The Roval, I mean, we know. I mean, he basically said, all right, I'm going to head out, and basically said, I'm done.
He's saving his luck.
He said, I'm done. He said, I ain't deal with this. Dover, voice crack. Dover, I mean, he finished 6th, but he was really irrelevant the entire race. Talladega is Talladega. And then Kansas, I know from what I saw, I think he was running top 5 the entire race, but he was never really in contention from what I saw. Like, that 18 team, they're looking a lot like their 2008 self. They have such a great first 26 races, and then the final 10 races, they just, like, start to fade and fade. I mean, this average finish during these playoffs is, like, 14th.
I can't put them all 2008 mode. 2008 was an embarrassment. But we'll move on from your blasphemy. And
I mean, don't take as we learned from last round, don't take.
It's gutsy. We're going to have to turn this into another challenge, but it's gutsy. But my number 4 is a guy you've actually already talked about, and that's Joe Logano. I really don't know why, but I've had a feeling for probably the last 2 months that Logano's going to have a shot to go back-to-back. I feel like there's a small shot he could go back-to-back. And typically, I always shy away from picking back-to-back, especially in this format because we haven't seen it. It's very hard to do. Even though we see a lot of the same drivers back every year, we've yet to see it happen. But I just have a weird feeling about Logano. I think he's got a really good shot. That team has been – every team here, really besides Truex and Hamlin, have had very quiet playoffs, Logano included. He hasn't done a ton. But I think Logano's still there. I think he's one of the favorites to make it to Homestead. That's why I have him ranked 4th. Who do you have number 4?
Number 4, I got Kevin Harvick.
There you go. Starting to think. Now you want to have faith. Folks, mark it down. Had him out of the round of 12. Now he's the number 4th ranked driver.
It's like, you know what? Like I said, I literally just picked a big-time driver, cat and hat. I'm like, okay, Kevin Harvick. Boom, he's out. I should have won with Keselowski. All right, Kevin Harvick, because it really came down between Busch and Harvick. I just like what I see out of Harvick more than I do out of Kyle Busch. In the sense of Kyle Busch, it's like he's having runs like Vegas or like the Roval where he's running in the back, and that's what I don't like seeing out of Kyle Busch. I think that he might come up with a problem at Texas. I don't know why. I just have a gut feeling about that one. I just like what I see more out of Harvick. I think they're going to run about the same, maybe top 5, maybe in contention for a win. But I just don't think Harvick is going to have, what Kyle Busch been having during these playoffs, and where he does have those races where he is running like 2 laps down.
Right. And, the thing I will say about Harvick and Busch, they are in similar situations, but I feel like, I don't know, for some reason I have a little bit more faith in Harvick. Busch is starting to really create that kind of faith. Busch used to collapse in the playoffs every year. The last couple of years, he's eliminated that kind of stigma, but something seems off with that team. Who really knows? But on number 3, this is going to irritate some people. And I guarantee you, I can already see the storyline. This guy, probably the favorite to win Martinsville. I could easily see him winning Martinsville, and everybody's going to jump on the bandwagon. Everybody's going to be ready to go, and everybody's going to say, this is your champion. Number 3 is Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin is having a great year. He's really kind of turned the tables on, he had this bad copper song the last couple of years because him and Chase Elliott got to this, and people wanted him fired last year because people are idiots. He's been one of the most successful drivers in the Cup Series for the last decade. 36 career Cup Series wins. 36 obviously came yesterday. Denny Hamlin's 3rd. The only reason I don't have him in the top 2 is he hasn't been. I don't know. Has he made the Final Four yet?
He has in 2014. He finished.
So
3rd.
He's made the Final Four one other time, I believe. It's been a while since he's been in those shoes. And still, the stigma of 2010 always weighs on my mind that Denny Hamlin seems to be kind of like a Mark Martin figure, to where now his crew chief really kind of cost him more than Denny did. But I think Denny also made a mistake at Homestead that year where he wrecked early in the race that pretty much handed Jimmy the championship. So I still have the stigma of Denny's kind of the guy that'll throw the title away. I don't have him there. I guarantee you he's probably going to win Martinsville. Because that's how NASCAR storylines work. A guy's going to win back-to-back races. He's going to put himself in the Final Four early, and everyone's going to jump on the hype train. Denny Hamlin's a championship favorite. Got to get it right now. He's going to be the Vegas favorite, the fan favorite, NASCAR's favorite, the media favorite. He's going to be everybody's favorite, but he's not going to win the championship. But Denny Hamlin right now is my 3rd place driver.
All right, have I said Chase Elliott at all?
No, you have not. So you can go ahead and put him number 1 if you want to.
Number 3, I have Chase Elliott. It's like that performed like I would have Chase Elliott in the Final Four if it wasn't for Kansas yesterday and it wasn't for the Roval. I think that team is finally starting to put in what I like to call clutch performance, in the sense of like he came from 22 points below the cut line, and I think 10th or 11th. Until we beat Brad Keselowski in +3. I mean, granted, Keselowski had, his issues and stuff like that. But even at, Bowman didn't do that. Byron didn't do that. Hell, even Boyer didn't do that. So it's like, I like what I see out of that 9 car. I think Chase Elliott's finally starting getting that confidence. I do think that he is a Final Four capable driver. And it's like with Kyle Larson going into the round. Can Kyle Larson get out of the round of 12? It's now like with Chase Elliott, can he make it to Homestead? I think Chase Elliott's finally going to make it to Homestead this year. I just think he's going to put in another clutch performance. He could go into Phoenix. Same. Oh, what the?
Am I back?
You're back.
I guess this is just a technical issue episode. I moved one thing to check a notification. I was gone. But anyways, I heard about the thing with Chase. Chase Elliott is still mixed. Going into this previous round, I was like, this could be a career round for Chase Elliott. He won the Roval in a dominant fashion. 3 really good racetracks. All 3 racetracks he had won at. I have a similar feeling going into this round, which makes me fear that something similar is going to happen to where he's going to be in trouble. I think, I don't know what it is. It's just a gut feeling. I think Martinsville, he is going to be in contention late. I think he's going to have an opportunity to win that race. I don't know why I have that feeling. Maybe it's based on the spring when he ran so well. But I really do truly feel like Chase Elliott's going to have a great shot at Martinsville. Texas is a very solid place for him. And then I think another great shot at Phoenix. He's almost won at Phoenix once or twice already. Chase, this is a nice round set up for that 9 team, which he's really starting to become a guy that can run well anywhere, which is a good sign for fans. The only thing that concerns me is, again, is Chevrolet ready? And is Hendrick ready? Are they ready to make that full run for a championship? They've been real spotty. I'm hoping his bad luck's kind of over with. The Dover situation was pretty bad. Talladega, you can't really say was bad luck, but probably had a better car than where he finished. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I like where your head's at. I'm hoping you're right. Hopefully I'll be wearing this hat all the way to Homestead in November. But my number 2 driver, getting close to the finish here. Number 2, I know you don't like where he's at right now, but it's Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch still all year has been one of my Final Four drivers, still a championship favorite. I think he's made it the last 3 or 4 years. He's going to win a second championship one of these days, but it does intrigue me the issues that team has had. Haven't won since June, which is mind-blowing. I think it's one of the longer streaks of his career as of recent. But you've got to have that feeling they're going to get a win before the end of the year. I could be wrong. But it would shock me if that team doesn't get another win this year. He's really, really good at Texas. Martinsville is one of his best racetracks. I mean, he's got a round that's going to set him up very well, especially the first 2 weeks. But Kyle Busch is my number 2.
My number 2 is Martin Truex Jr.
I
didn't have Truex making the
Oh, man.
I don't know. You already know who my number 1 is. I made this number 1 pick after New Hampshire, I think.
We'll talk about Truex, and then we'll hit on your terrible number 1 pick.
So I'm so salty about 2017, I see. All right, but anyway, so yeah, number 2 on Martin Truex Jr. I didn't even have him making a Final Four during my, my broken playoff bracket that I made after Indianapolis. I think is
busted, broken, burnt, trash.
I think my Final Four was Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Joey Logano. Kurt Busch goes out after round 1. He does nothing. And obviously, we know the Kevin Harvick thing. We don't need to talk about that no more. Yeah, I got more. But yeah, he's been the best driver in these playoffs, in my opinion. I mean, he won Vegas, he won Richmond, he finished top 3, I believe, at the Roval. He finished second at Dover. Talladega, Talladega is one thing, but I think he even finished top 5 or top 10 at Kansas. He's been the best driver in these playoffs right now. And I think the same momentum's going to carry to Martinsville. Martinsville, he's always been very good at ever since, he lined himself with Furniture Row. He could have won there in 2017. He could have won it last year. He always seems to be very good at the fall races. 2016, I know he won the pole and led a lot of laps. 2017, he almost beat Kyle Busch. 2018, we know what happened with him and Logano. I think he's going to be in contention also this year. Texas is probably his weakest mile-and-a-half track, in my opinion. Maybe you can argue Texas and Atlanta, they're really only 2 mile-and-a-halves he hasn't won at. But he's very good at mile-and-a-half, so I think he's going to be top 5 there. And then Phoenix is I think he'll be good enough to where you won't have to worry about Phoenix, in my opinion. So that's why I have him as number 2. But my number 1, if you guys know process of elimination, you already know who my number 1 is. Let's get to
talk about that. But my number 1 is the guy that you just talked about, Martin Truex Jr. But nobody's perfect. The biggest thing that's helping him is his point gap. I think he has a 16 or 15 point gap, which helps out a ton. That already sets him up. Martinsville's been a place where he's been fairly decent as of late. Probably should have won the race last year until Joey Logano had the pimpest move of the 2010s and knocked him out of the way, which to this day was the right move to make. Anyways, Martin Truex Jr. has been one of the better drivers in this playoffs. One thing that does kind of concern me is Talladega's Talladega, but that team was literally, I can't even tell you if they were at Talladega yesterday. Very similar. You heard nothing about that team all day long. And the way this year has been for the 19 team, they either have a streak of where they're really good, then they have a streak of when they're nobodies. And they have a streak of being really good, then they have a streak of nobodies. Potentially what you're seeing is the beginning of the playoffs was their streak of being really good. Now are they starting to enter that streak where you're kind of not paying attention to them? And that's one thing that makes me nervous is this team has not been – Martin Truex Jr. the last couple of years in the 78 team, week in and week out, no matter where they were, that team was talked about. They were in contention. It has not been the same this year. So very, very intrigued to see what will carry over into this round. I'm sure we're going to see somebody that you don't expect to make it to the Final Four, which means somebody's also got to go home. I don't think it's the 19 team. That's why they're number 1 on my list. I just think out of everybody right now, they've been the most bulletproof. But if you really look at it, Denny Hamlin's probably, which go ahead and tell me your number 1.
You already said the name.
Exactly. Sir, Dennis the Menace Hamlin has probably been the most consistent driver. But I just want to lay this out. This is what's going to make this next round exciting. There's nobody racing perfect right now. I just told you what to worry about with Truex Jr. Last couple weeks, he hasn't been relevant, and that team is known to be relevant for not just 1 or 2 weeks, but for weeks on end at times this year. Kyle Busch has not been himself. Denny Hamlin, while good, still kind of has that, like, mentally, he still has to get over the hurdle of him winning a championship. All of these other drivers, for the most part, have done it. The guys that are the favorites around him. Chase Elliott hasn't, Blaney and Larson haven't, but Harvick, Logano, Kyle Busch, and Truex, they've all won championships. They have that confidence. If they don't win it this year, you know what they're going to say? We're going on to next year. Denny Hamlin has the pressure of, if he does not win it this year, I don't know if he'll ever have another chance to win one. That's how good he's been this year. You look at Joey Logano. They've had some bad luck. I mean, the last few weeks has been them surviving to get to the next round. You look at Harvick. Harvick, just like Kyle Busch, has not been himself all year. That team hasn't been great. You look at Chase Elliott. He's a big question mark. We think mentally that team is right, but that team still has some weeks where they're not very good. You look at Ryan Blaney, the most inconsistent driver in a Penske car. Should be a lot better. Some weeks looks great. Other weeks looks like we don't know how he's in a Penske car. Then you look at Kyle Larson. Recently, he's looked really good, but other part of the year, if he had a fast car, he was walling it every other week. So it's one of those things to where every single person has a pro and a con right now, and it's going to be fun to watch. But I do applaud you. At least this time, your pick was a solid pick.
Wait till you hear my 2020 pick. Well, you already heard it. Mr. Inconsistent's winning the championship next year.
Well, go on your rant about that. Let me go outside real quick. I'll be back.
All right.
Yeah, your 2020 pick is ridiculous. Here we go. I don't have to go outside. Making a guest appearance.
Who's his pick to win the championship?
His pick. Well, he's eating pedigree right now, so unfortunately, it's going to be Kyle Busch. But
all right, so we got a Hamlin, we got a Truex, and we got a Kyle Busch. So we got all the GGR cars.
Well, see, my championship pick all year long, I think I picked Kyle Busch months ago. I think that's who I picked in my I'm a kind of guy, I stick with my pick. No matter what's changed, I still have Kyle Busch. My Final Four is the same Final Four as last year. That's still intact. We'll see. But, man, I shouldn't have went through those 8 and listed the pros and cons because I'm really shaky about who's going to make it in this Final Four.
I mean, besides Blaney and Larson, any of the other 6 could make it. I mean, Hamlin, because
is even though I pretty much 100% agree with you, I think those are the 2 that I just can't find it in my soul to put them in the Final Four. I also didn't have them making the Final 8. I didn't have them winning a race. I didn't have them doing this and doing that. So you can't ever sleep on them. I think they've used up their win for the year pretty much. Larson, I don't see winning another race this year. Blaney, I don't see winning another race this year. It's kind of – I'm with you on that. I just, for some reason, something about those 2 drivers, I cannot put them in going any further.
But any of the other 6 can easily make it. I mean, the Toyotas, they've been so dominant this season. They have like 17 wins on the season, just them alone. Harvick, I mean, it's Kevin Harvick. I mean, I learned that the hard way yesterday. Chase Elliott,
Chase Elliott, that team is just – it seems like they're doing whatever they've got to do to fight their way in. I mean, and that's one thing I do like about Chase Elliott is Chase Elliott seems like a driver that's willing to race and willing to fight and do what he's got to do to go out and make to the next round. And I'm really interested because I think at some point in this round, unless he wins at Martinsville, which I think he has a great shot, Chase Elliott's back's going to be against the wall once again. I'm willing to see what he's going to do when he is back against the wall and has to do something to go out and try to win a championship.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last year. I mean, when Hamlin didn't wreck Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott at Phoenix last year, Elliott could have potentially been the one to make it to Homestead over Harvick, because Harvick had that encumber win.
Chase has been close because Chase also 2 years ago when supposedly he got revenge on Denny Hamlin, which he did, but I don't even want to talk about how the slightest bit of contact ruined Denny Hamlin's season. Chase, if he would have won that race, would have made it in. But remember, people don't remember when Matt Kenseth got his last career win, he had passed Chase Elliott with, I think, less than 10 laps to go. Chase was on old tires, couldn't hold off the 20 car. was close then. That 9 team or Chase Elliott has been close the last 2 years. It'll be really interesting to see if they can make it this year.
All right, so my Final Four is, I've said Denny Hamlin. My Final Four is Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Chase Elliott.
I like it.
I don't got Kyle Busch in there because, like I said, I don't like how that team is looking right now.
My Final Four is and I'm sticking with this Final Four just for the fact that, I'm going to go with the Final Four I originally picked, which is Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch. If I were to just randomly pick one today and throw out what I've stuck with all year, I think you still got to put Truex and Busch. Even though the points gap isn't great, I think the points gap is something to work with. I think you've almost got to put all 3 Gibbs cars in there. And then I have a feeling about Logano. So right now I think you'd have to put Truex. Really, the way I ranked them, it was the first 4. So I guess I would have Kevin Harvick out, even though I'm going to stick with my original Final Four. If I had, gun to my head right now, I think you kind of have to go with those guys. I think Logano finds a way to sneak in. And then you put the 3 Gibbs cars in. Those Gibbs cars, if somehow Joe Gibbs doesn't win a championship this year, you've almost got to kind of laugh at him. Like, you've had everything go your way all year long. Denny Hamlin's had a resurgence. Kyle Busch is the best driver in the garage. Martin Truex Jr. you picked up because you financially closed down another team. You did everything possible to try to get you a championship, and you somehow lose. That's almost comedy right there.
We saw what happened last year.
Yeah. The thing is, it wouldn't even be surprising. I would not even be surprised if at the end at Homestead you see Joey Logano pulling away from 2 or 3 Gibbs cars, and somehow Joe Gibbs Racing still doesn't win a championship.
Interesting fact, Joe Gibbs Racing only has 4 championships: 2000, 2002, 2005, and 2015.
Oh, Tony Stewart.
Tony Stewart owns half of them.
Oh, yeah, that's because Tony Stewart's the greatest Gibbs driver of all time. Well, I guess Kyle Busch is technically passing that, but, we'll see.
Kyle Busch needs to win another championship. I'll take championships over wins any day, unless it's, like 20 or 30-plus wins, and it's like, okay.
He's still got a bunch more. I think Tony still has 48, 40. Tony's somewhere in the 40s.
Tony's 49. Kyle Busch is like 55.
So he's got a ways to go. But anyways, that's all I've got for this week. Kansas turned out to be a pretty decent end. I'm not going to say a race because the first 230 laps of that thing was not great, but turned out to be pretty good. We've got a really, really interesting Final 8. Again, like I said, there's nobody that's really secure. There's nobody that's really a lock. I think it's going to be a fun – dude, this is my favorite part of the year. As much as I, dread that after another month we have to wait another 3 months for NASCAR, this is what we've all waited for. This is the playoffs. This is what we've all waited for all year long. I'm excited.
Let's just say one thing. If Denny Hamlin makes it to the Final Four, he'd be the first Daytona 500 winner to make it to the Final Four, and he'd be the first Daytona 500 winner since 2013 to win the championship.
I've got a deal for you here.
All right.
If Kevin Harvick somehow wins the championship after you belligerently threw him out in the round of 12 to add to your Brandon Jones hat collection you're about to start, you're going to have to get a T-shirt. But Harvick has to win the championship. Harvick has to win the championship.
Does it have to be Brandon Jones?
Oh, is there anybody you dislike more than Brandon Jones?
I'm about to make a new one, I swear to God.
What about a Natalie Decker shirt?
I'll take Brandon Jones' shirt.
Okay, so it's a Natalie Decker shirt. The answer let me know right there. It's a Natalie Decker shirt. All right.
Oh, you guys are the Harvick championship. I'll be there first.
We got it here first. If Kevin Harvick wins the championship, to pay for his sins, he's going to have to buy a Natalie Decker shirt.
Literally, I'll just go down for the stands. Just go to one of the gypsy tents and be like, just give me a freaking shirt.
Just give me a shirt.
That's all I got
for this week.
All right, that's all I got too. All right, everyone, take care.
See ya.
Peace. I don't want to buy a shirt.